Breaking news for drivers across America. 2026 is bringing some of the biggest driving law changes we've seen in years, and most people have absolutely no idea what's about to hit them. Some of these new rules could cost you hundreds, others could cost you thousands. And one of them, rule number 4, is catching even experienced drivers completely off guard. If you drive every day, commute to work, take road trips, or even just run errands on weekends, you need to pay close attention. Let's start with rule number 10. Rule number 10. Stricter cell phone enforcement nationwide. Distracted driving laws are no longer just don't text and drive. In 2026, multiple states are dramatically expanding what qualifies as illegal phone use behind the wheel. Previously, many states only penalized texting, but now enforcement is shifting toward full hands-free only laws. That means holding your phone for any reason, checking GPS, scrolling music, answering a call, could trigger a citation. What's different in 2026? First, enforcement is becoming primary offense in more states. That means police can pull you over solely for holding your phone. They don't need another reason. Second, fines are increasing significantly. In several states, first-time violations are rising into the $250 to $500 range. Repeat offenses can exceed $1,000 when court fees are included. And here's where it gets expensive. Insurance companies are treating distracted driving violations more aggressively. A single ticket could increase your premium for 3 to 5 years. Many drivers assume a quick glance at a phone in traffic isn't a big deal. Under the new rules, even being stopped at a red light doesn't automatically make it legal. Some states are also expanding restrictions around smartwatches and mounted devices. If you're physically interacting with the screen while driving, that could qualify as distracted driving. The message from lawmakers is clear: zero tolerance. And enforcement is expected to increase because several states are adding automated detection technology capable of identifying drivers holding phones. This one change alone could surprise millions of drivers who think they're being careful. Rule number 9. Speed enforcement cameras expanding rapidly. If you think you can get away with going a few miles over the speed limit, 2026 may change that. Speed and red light camera programs are expanding in dozens of cities and states. What used to be limited to large metropolitan areas is now moving into suburban and even rural zones. What's different in 2026 enforcement? First, lower tolerance margins. Some jurisdictions are reducing the buffer from 10 miles per hour over the limit down to 5 miles per hour, and in school zones, even less. Second, higher fine structures. Instead of a $75 citation, some areas are raising penalties to $150 or more per violation. And third, automated processing means citations are issued consistently. Cameras don't give warnings, they don't overlook behavior, they don't exercise discretion. You may not even realize you were speeding until a notice shows up in your mailbox 2 weeks later. Another shift happening in 2026 involves average speed enforcement. Instead of clocking your speed at one point, certain highway systems are testing corridor tracking, measuring how long it takes you to travel between two checkpoints. If your average speed exceeds the posted limit, a violation is generated automatically. Many drivers view camera systems as revenue generators. Lawmakers argue they improve safety. Regardless of the debate, expansion is happening quickly. And unlike traditional tickets, automated citations often require formal dispute procedures if you want to challenge them. In other words, ignoring them can create bigger problems down the line. If you rely on traffic flow speed as your guide, 2026 enforcement could make that expensive. Rule number 8. Lower blood alcohol limits in more states. This one is critical. For years, 0.08% blood alcohol concentration has been the standard legal limit across most of the United States. But in 2026, several states are moving towards 0.5% limits, significantly lowering the legal threshold. Why does this matter? Because 0.5% can be reached faster than many drivers realize. For some individuals, that could mean just 1 or 2 drinks within a short period of time. Supporters argue this change aligns the U.S. with stricter international standards and reduces alcohol-related crashes. Opponents argue it criminalizes responsible social drinking. Regardless of opinion, the practical impact is clear. Behavior that may have been legally acceptable before could now result in arrest, and the penalties attached to DUI convictions remain severe. We're talking about thousands in legal fees, mandatory alcohol education programs, license suspension, ignition interlock devices. Significant insurance premium increases. Some states are also increasing minimum suspension periods and mandatory waiting times before restricted licenses are granted. Another development in 2026 involves expanded roadside enforcement funding. That means more sobriety checkpoints and patrol initiatives. Even if you feel completely normal, legal impairment doesn't require visible intoxication. This change is especially important during holidays, sporting events, and social gatherings. Drivers who have followed the 2 drinks and wait an hour mindset may need to reconsider their habits under lower legal thresholds. Understanding your state's specific limit is going to matter more than ever. And we're just getting started. The next rule is one that many drivers don't see coming, especially those who assume basic vehicle ownership costs won't change much in 2026. But before we move on, think about this. How many of these changes would catch you off guard if you hadn't heard about them? Because the next section starts to affect not just how you drive, but how much you pay every single year just to keep your vehicle on the road. So far, we've covered stricter phone laws, expanding speed cameras, and lower DUI limits. Now we move into changes that directly affect your wallet, even if you never get pulled over. And this next one is hitting a growing group of drivers. Rule number 7. Electric vehicle fees increasing in more states. Electric vehicles were once seen as the cheaper long-term option. Lower fuel costs, fewer maintenance issues, tax incentives. But in 2026, many states are adjusting how EV owners contribute to road funding. Here's the issue lawmakers are addressing. Gas taxes traditionally fund highways, road repairs, and infrastructure. EV drivers don't buy gasoline, so they don't contribute to those taxes. As EV adoption grows, states are seeing declines in gas tax revenue. So what's happening? More states are implementing or increasing annual EV registration fees. In some areas, these fees range between $100 and $250 per year, on top of normal registration costs. A few states are even testing mileage-based road usage programs, where drivers report annual mileage and pay accordingly. Supporters argue it creates fairness between gas and electric drivers. Critics argue it discourages clean energy adoption. But here's what matters to you. If you're considering buying an electric vehicle in 2026, factor in new recurring state fees that didn't exist a few years ago. And these fees are often non-negotiable, non-reducible, and due annually. For families budgeting tightly, that additional cost can feel significant. The shift signals a broader trend. As transportation evolves, funding models are evolving too. Now we move to a rule that surprises many experienced drivers. Rule number 5. License renewal requirements getting stricter. For decades, renewing a driver's license was simple. Show up, take a photo, pay a fee, leave. But in 2026, many states are increasing renewal requirements, particularly for certain age groups. Some states are expanding mandatory vision testing frequency. Others are adding written knowledge exams for drivers above a certain age threshold, often around 70 or 75. A few jurisdictions are requiring in-person renewals instead of online renewals for older drivers. The reasoning centers around public safety. Lawmakers cite research suggesting that reaction times, vision sharpness, and certain health conditions can affect driving ability over time. However, many longtime drivers feel the changes are unnecessary or unfair, especially those with decades of safe driving history. Here's what's important. If you or a family member is approaching a renewal year in 2026, check your state's updated requirements early. Waiting until the expiration month could lead to surprises, appointment delays, or required testing you didn't anticipate. And in some cases, failing a required test could temporarily restrict your driving privileges until reassessment. Planning ahead will matter more than ever. Now we arrive at the rule that catches most drivers off guard. Rule number 4. Insurance verification systems going real time. This one surprises people because it's not flashy, but it changes everything. In 2026, more states are upgrading to real-time electronic insurance verification systems. Previously, drivers could carry an insurance card and present it during traffic stops or vehicle registration. But now, several states are integrating live databases that instantly verify coverage status. Here's what that means. If your insurance policy lapses, even briefly, the system may automatically flag your vehicle. In some states, that can trigger automatic fines, registration suspension notices, license suspension warnings, and required reinstatement fees. And here's the part many drivers don't realize. Even missing a payment by a few days could create a lapse in coverage that gets reported electronically. Before, there was sometimes a grace period where paperwork delays didn't immediately show up. With real-time tracking, gaps are recorded instantly. Some states are also conducting random compliance checks by cross-referencing license plate databases with insurance databases. If the system detects no active policy linked to your vehicle, you may receive a notice in the mail, even without being pulled over. Penalties for driving uninsured are already severe, but now enforcement is becoming automated. For drivers who switch insurance companies and experience brief processing gaps, this system can create unexpected complications. The safest move in 2026? Avoid any lapse in coverage whatsoever. Confirm cancellation and activation dates overlap when switching providers. This rule surprises most drivers because they assume insurance enforcement only happens during traffic stops. Now, it can happen digitally without direct interaction, and fixing a suspension triggered by automated verification can take time, paperwork, and additional fees. Rule number 3. Dashboard cameras and vehicle data recording expanding. Dashboard cameras used to be optional accessories, something rideshare drivers or cautious motorists installed for protection. In 2026, they're becoming much more common and in some cases strongly encouraged or indirectly required. Several states are expanding pilot programs that incentivize forward-facing dash cams, particularly for commercial vehicle operators, delivery drivers, rideshare drivers, and fleet vehicles. Insurance companies are getting involved too. Some providers now offer premium discounts, often between 5 and 15%, if drivers install approved camera systems and agree to provide footage in the event of an accident. On the surface, this seems beneficial. Video evidence can protect you from fraudulent claims and clearly show fault in collisions. But here's the shift happening in 2026. More investigations are relying on recorded data, not just video, but event data recorders already built into modern vehicles. Most newer cars already collect information like speed at time of impact, brake application timing, steering input, acceleration patterns. In serious crashes, this data can be accessed during investigations. What's changing is how frequently that information is being used in insurance and legal disputes. Drivers who assume minor accidents are simple word versus word situations may now find hard data determining liability. While dashcams can absolutely protect responsible drivers, they also remove ambiguity. The bigger takeaway? Transparency in driving behavior is increasing, and as vehicle technology advances, accountability becomes more precise. Rule number 2. Penalties for driving without insurance becoming severe. Driving without insurance has always been illegal in most states, but in 2026, penalties are becoming significantly harsher, especially with real-time verification systems now in place. Fines in some states are increasing beyond $1,000 for first offenses. Repeat violations can lead to mandatory license suspension, vehicle impoundment, court appearances, SR22 high-risk insurance requirements, and reinstatement fees. The financial ripple effect can be devastating. Not only do you pay the initial fine, but high-risk insurance premiums can double or triple for several years. Some states are also eliminating leniency for drivers who simply forgot proof of insurance.
If the system shows no active coverage, the violation proceeds automatically unless corrected immediately. Additionally, enforcement is becoming more automated through license plate readers, registration database cross-checks, and random compliance audits. Lawmakers argue that uninsured drivers increase costs for everyone else by raising claim payouts and premium rates. Critics argue that severe penalties disproportionately impact low-income drivers who struggle with rising insurance costs. Regardless of perspective, the enforcement environment in 2026 is far less forgiving. The margin for error is shrinking. If you own a vehicle, continuous coverage is no longer just recommended, it's essential. And now we arrive at the biggest change of all, the one that affects families, teenagers, and future drivers across states. Rule number 1: teen driver restrictions becoming much stricter. Graduated licensing programs have existed for years, but in 2026, multiple states are strengthening restrictions for young drivers under 18. Why? Because statistics consistently show that teen drivers have higher crash rates compared to other age groups. Here's what's changing: longer learner's permit holding periods. Instead of 6 months, some states now require 12 full months before a teen can apply for a road test. Increased supervised driving hour requirements. Several states are doubling minimum practice hours, requiring between 60 and 100 documented hours behind the wheel with a licensed adult. Earlier nighttime curfews, where 11 p.m. used to be common, some states are moving curfews to 9 or 10 p.m. Passenger restrictions are tightening. Teen drivers may be prohibited from carrying multiple non-family passengers for longer periods, sometimes up to a full year after licensing. Zero-tolerance policies are expanding. In certain states, even one moving violation within the first 12 months can reset progression timelines or trigger mandatory remedial training. That means a single speeding ticket or minor infraction could delay full driving privileges significantly. Supporters argue these measures save lives and reduce fatal crashes among young drivers. Opponents argue the rules can be overly restrictive and disruptive to school, work, and family schedules. But the reality is clear. Parents will need to plan farther ahead in 2026. Teens will need to commit to longer training periods, and earning unrestricted driving privileges may take more time and discipline than before. For families with teenagers approaching driving age, awareness of updated requirements is crucial. Waiting until permit applications begin could lead to unexpected delays or compliance issues. 2026 isn't just bringing minor updates, it's bringing tighter enforcement, more automation, higher financial consequences, and stricter qualification standards. Some of these changes focus on safety, others focus on funding. All of them increase accountability. The biggest mistake drivers can make is assuming the rules remain the same year after year. They don't. Staying informed is no longer optional, it's protection. Because in today's driving environment, one overlooked detail can lead to fines, higher insurance premiums, or suspended privileges. Which of these changes surprised you the most, and which one do you think will have the biggest impact on everyday drivers? Stay aware, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay safe out there.